everybody, and welcome to a very exciting new series on board gaming. Today I'm going to be talking about just a single game. That's right, I am starting to do full-fledged reviews. This really started for me when I talked about the Cosmic Encounter Shenanigans deck that me and my board gaming group had made. It was really fun to really just go ahead and just set up the entire game, really talk about the nitty-gritty of how it works, what you do, what you can't do, what I like, what I don't like, all of that kind of stuff. Doing my top 5 videos is really fun and I enjoy it, and obviously I'll keep doing that as well, but I'm going to try to add these reviews in as well. Ever since I started getting some of the newer games, especially from last year in 2014, a few of them just really made me want to talk about them at length. I'm very excited, but obviously this is new territory for me, so I really look forward to your guys' feedback about what you like about my reviews, what you don't like about them, if you like the structure, if you like how long I talk, etc., all of that kind of stuff. It's a learning experience for me, and hopefully it's going to be an exciting and helpful experience for you all to see some of the board games that I have. And obviously I also want your suggestions for games that you want me to review. So to start us off, I've got a wonderful game that I relatively recently acquired, but is extremely fun and allows us to do science and make potions. That's right, we are going to play Alchemists. This is an absolutely incredible game for many different reasons. It is fairly heavy, it's a fairly long game, it plays 2 to 4 players, and it comes to us from Czech Games Edition. So the way that this works is it's very heavily integrated with a mobile app. You can use the app on your phone, your tablet, whatever you want. It works for iOS as well as Android. I'll show you how the app works when I get to the gameplay and all that good stuff. But either way, I really enjoy this game. I love the... it's from Czech Games Edition. If you're not familiar with the company, one thing that they are relatively famous for is their rule books, believe it or not. Their rule books are absolutely hilarious and actually do a lot for the purpose of the theme. So for example, with Alchemists, the entire point is that you are in like an academic setting. You are a scientist trying to get papers published and things like that, and all of like the flavor text from the rule books discusses things in that sense. So it's very exciting. I really enjoy it. I'll get more into the nitty-gritty when I talk about the gameplay, but the first thing that I want to do very briefly is just talk about what this game is similar to. So Alchemists itself as a game is actually very similar to another Czech Games Edition game, Dungeon Lords. They're very similar because they are both worker placement games that work in various rounds, and you have to either attract or not attract or ignore or help different adventurers that are coming your way. In the case of Dungeon Lords, you're trying to fight off adventurers. In the case of Alchemists, you are trying to give the adventurers potions and things of that nature. It's really exciting. They both use money systems, obviously. They both use gold, and they both use a reputation system. In the case of Alchemists, the idea is the higher reputation you have, the more that you can get for your potions if they're correct and all that good stuff. Whereas in the case of Dungeon Lords, if you have a higher or lower reputation, the happiness meter as it's called, it can even affect what monsters you're able to get. And you also might have to pay in reputation in order to get them. So if you have played Dungeon Lords, then you will be fairly well prepared for Alchemists. But the really fun thing about Alchemists is the unique gameplay that comes from the mobile app. So right now, I'm just going to jump right in and talk about the nitty-gritty of the game and get into the gameplay. Alright everybody, so we're here set up and ready to play Alchemists, or at least mostly ready and set up for it. I only set up red for the purpose of demonstrating how the game works. So the way that this functions is, like I said, somewhat similar to Dungeon Lords, where the idea is that you've got these cubes. So these are the examples of the red cubes right here. You start off with 3, and then depending on the number of players, you can have upwards of 6. If you only have 2 players, then you have 6, and then I believe it goes 5 and 4 for 3 and 4 players respectively. And those just represent the actions that you're able to take, or the way that you pay to take actions. So at the beginning of the game, the way that you set it up is relatively simple. Every character has this type of card. You can see the little felt right there is the color of the character. These actually have two sides on them, and there's a very important difference. You can see just barely that little hat right there. That hat represents the master variant. There is also the apprentice variant, which has the little graduation cap there. The apprentice variant is in all ways easier. For the purpose of this, you start off with more. So this little symbol right here with the 3, that means you start with 3 ingredients and 2 gold for this particular variant. So I've got my gold right here, and gold is always visible to everybody. You have 3 cards, but they're not visible to the others. People don't know what you have. But either way, these are the ingredient cards that you start off with, right? You also have several other things. In addition to the action cubes, you have 2 of these cool little Erlenmeyer flask looking things. These are designed for 2 purposes. The first one is to keep track of your reputation. Reputation is eventually how you win the game. Whoever has the most reputation will win. And the second one is to indicate turn order, right? But I'll get to that in just a little bit. The other thing that is player specific are actually these little seals, and this is how you say what you think a particular ingredient is. So the overall goal of the game, like I said, the overarching goal is to have the most reputation. The way that you do that primarily is to study the ingredients. The idea is that you're trying to figure out the alchemical symbols for these ingredients. So these are examples of what the alchemical symbols look like. Right, so you can see they look a little bit funky there, right? And each one has several different components. It's got 3 colors, which represent 3 different types of potions. And then for each color, you have a size and a sign. So you have either big or small, and then you have either a plus or a minus. So you can see this one here, this is all 3 are large and plus. On this one, you've got a small red positive, a large blue positive, and a small green negative. The way that this game works is based on how these ingredients interact with each other, they're going to make different potions, and they're going to do it in different ways. And the way that you determine what ingredient or what the ingredients make is relatively simple that I'll get to in a little bit, but the end point is to figure out what these are for the individual ingredients, and then you put them on here, for example, and then along with one of your seals. And that is essentially how you primarily get reputation. But the overall goal is just deduction. It's all about reasoning. And essentially, the way that the alchemicals combine is that if you have the small and the large of the same sign, then you make that type of potion. So on these little player things, it gives you a little cheat sheet here. So you can see right there, in order to make a blue negative potion, there you've got the large blue negative, the small blue negative, large blue negative, small blue negative, large and small, etc. The other 2 colors and signs don't matter. All that matters is you have the large blue negative and the small blue negative, and that will give you a negative blue. Same thing here, if you have large red positive and a small red positive, you get a red positive. And then if you have small green positive, big green positive, you get a green. The only really special case is the neutralized potion. This is where everything is opposite. All of the signs are opposite, so you've got positive, negative, negative, positive, and that gives you a neutral potion. It still gives you a good deal of information, though, which is very, very important. The way that you keep track of these things is on this little piece of paper here. So I actually went out and I got a big pack of pencils just for this game. So the idea is that as you go through, then you will mark off what the ingredients cannot be. And then potentially saying, all right, well, it has to be this. The way that information is shared is other people know what potion you made, but they do not know what ingredients you used. Right? So that is the basic idea of what you are trying to do. You are trying to figure out what the ingredients actually are with relation to the symbols. The way that you go about doing that is with several different ways. So for the basic setup, you want to start with a couple of different things. You can see up in the corner over there, let me zoom in the camera just a smidge here. So you can see those cards that are right over there. Those are the artifact cards. These cards start off the game and they give you some really interesting abilities if you purchase them. You don't have to purchase them, but for example, for the printing press, you do not pay 1 gold to the bank when you publish or endorse a theory. That again, that's a big way of getting reputation, is by publishing. So that's really important, and you save a lot of money. And then discount card, your next artifact costs 2 gold less. After that, artifacts cost you 1 gold less. So you can save a lot of money potentially. Robe of Respect, whenever you gain reputation points, gain 1 more. This does not apply to the final round. So you can see each of these has a value right here where it's the cost in gold and then how much reputation they give you at the end of the game. So for the first part, we've got the artifacts that are labeled as 1, and they get set out on the board just like that. We have artifacts labeled 2 and 3 on the backs, and those we get to after a couple of rounds, right? So the way the first round works, the way the first one works is you always only have 3 cubes. You've got multiple different actions that you can take, but the first thing you have to do is figure out who's going to go first. So we have here the starting player marker. Red is the starting player, and this is the player track right over here. Let me take a look here, see how you can see it. Let me move this out of the way. There we go. All right, so you can see this track here. Focus, there we go. So you can see this first space costs you 1 gold. If you want to go absolutely first, you got to pay for it. This one, it doesn't give you anything, but you're guaranteed to go at worst second. And then with this one, you actually get a free card with it. You get a free ingredient card. You get 2 ingredient cards. You get a favor card and an ingredient card, favor, ingredients, etc., etc. Goes down the line. So you can pick where you're going to go if you have this starting player marker, and then this rotates around. All right? The bottom one is a special case that I'll talk about later. Right? These are the favor cards. So these essentially represent different people in the city, I guess you would say, who can help you out in different ways. So if, for example, barmaid. Play when it's your turn to sell a potion. You can sell potions to adventurers. If you mix an exact match, you gain 1 point of reputation. If not, count the potion as 1 level better than it is, which is pretty awesome. Shopkeeper, 1 artifact costs you 1 less gold piece, and etc., etc. Some of these say play immediately, some of them say to hold, but they all do some pretty cool stuff. Very, very exciting. So those are the favor cards, and that's how you just start off the turn in the first place, right? So as far as actions, on the first turn, you're somewhat limited to the number of actions you can do. If you can take a look here, sorry about this. Oop. Where'd you go? There it is. So the symbol at the bottom there, this symbol right here indicates that you cannot do it on the first turn. It has a 1 with a little X on it. That just means you're not doing it on the first turn. That particularly is the adventurer space, and I'll get to that in just a couple of seconds. There are a few spaces that say you can't do that. So the way that each of the spaces works, whoever is going first, they place all 3 of their cubes first. So right here, you're finding ingredients. You're looking for ingredients, and these are the ones that are available, or you can pick one from the deck when it comes time to do this. If you are first to place your cubes, the first person to place their cubes is the one who's actually at the bottom of the stack, unfortunately. And essentially what that means is you get first pick of what you're going to do, potentially, but you might not actually get a chance to do it. So it's rather unfortunate, but you're guaranteed to actually get a spot. So for example, maybe you'll say like here, we've only got 2 players, so we'll just use the top 2 rows there. So you want an ingredient, and then right here you can transmute ingredients. You can essentially take an ingredient and sell it for gold, which is nice if you really need money. Right here we can buy an artifact. We've only got 2 gold though, so we can't afford any that are there. This is one that doesn't happen on the first turn. That's called the debunk theory. Publish theory also doesn't happen. And then right here, this is what we really want. We want to test it. We want to test something. We want to see what's going on, right? And then same thing will go here. That's another way to test it, right? So there are 2 ways to essentially test your ingredients to see what they make. Test on student means that you're basically handing it to one of your graduate students and they're just like, yes sir, for science! And they drink it and then whatever happens, happens. If you give them a bad potion, if you give them a negative potion, then they get mad at you and then you have to pay them. I know, it's shocking. You have to pay your graduate students. It's ridiculous. But that's the way that it goes. The other option is that you can drink it yourself. The problem with drinking a potion yourself is that you can potentially injure yourself. So there are 3 types of potions, the red, the green, and the blue, and those essentially represent like health, mana, and stamina, effectively, for lack of a better term. So the health one, the red one, if you drink a negative version, then you end up in the hospital, and you put your little cube in the hospital, and then you can't use it next turn. If you have a negative blue potion, then you essentially go completely insane, and the rulebook actually says you ran around naked. And because you ran around naked, you lose reputation because people don't respect you anymore because you ran around naked, right? The third one is the paralysis potion because it's the stamina. It's like you run really fast, or in the case of the negative one, you don't run so fast. And that's what this special spot on the starting player board is. You're essentially frozen in space and you have to go last. Multiple people can be down there though. It's pretty crazy. All right? So for the purpose of our first turn, I just put down some of my ingredients. So let's say blue, we'll say, went before me. Let's say I went there and then blue went right there. So blue got to go first. The way that it would work is blue's cubes could potentially be above mine. The way it works is you build cubes upwards, but then you take them down. So blue would pick ingredients first before me, and same thing, so on and so forth. If you want to, you can also fill up 2 of these, just like that. And then you can go twice. And the way that works is you go down this column first and then this column second. Some of the spaces require more than 1 cube as well. So for example, this one right here for transmuting, you can pay 1 to get your first action, but the next action requires 2. So you would have to put both down there, right? Either way, I want to collect ingredients, and then I want to test something on the student, and I want to test something on myself. So let's say blue didn't pick any of those. Just to keep it simple, I will take my chicken foot, and I will take this wacky root thing. All right? So I put them into my hand, just like so. Okay? Ooh, now I have a cool hand. And then I test on the student. So this is where the importance of testing the ingredients comes into play. And here's how it works. So you have this little player station, so to speak, right here. And what you do is you just stick the 2 cards right like that. There's a little tab that they rest on. This is technically how you're supposed to do it. You don't actually have to do it like this, right? Let's get a little up here. So then we've got the app right here. I've actually got the demo one opened up right now. So we're going to test it on the student. Bam. Okay, and then the little camera thing opens up. Look, it's like videoception. So as you get close to it, it scans the 2 cards, and then you say, yes, those are the 2 cards I am mixing. And look, we made a blue positive potion. So what this means is that we take one of the blue positive markers. Oops, sorry about that. We take one of the blue positive markers from this big stack right here. We've got this in the middle of the table. So you see here we've got a blue positive. And then on our tracker here, we'll find Scorpion and Toad. So they're actually somewhat far apart here. Let's see if it focuses up. There we go, perfect. All right, so we've got Toad and Scorpion. And then we just follow up to where they meet. So they meet right there. And that makes a blue positive, just like that. Okay, so what does this mean? Remember, in order to make a blue positive, these need to have a big blue positive and a small blue positive. So what does that mean? We can eliminate. We can eliminate everything between those 2 that has a blue negative. So what we'll do is we'll take our pencil here, and that has a blue negative, blue negative, blue negative, blue negative, and then same thing on, whoops, not that one, the Scorpion. Negative and negative and negative. It's like that. Now you can't see it too well. But so see, this is this one right here is for the Toad. That has a blue negative, 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 negative. Doesn't matter if it's big or small, but we know that it can't have a blue negative because it made a blue positive. All right? And when you make that potion, then you announce to everybody, I made a blue positive potion. The instructions actually say you have to show them the app, you have to show them the screen. But again, they don't know the ingredients. You just take your ingredients and then you discard them face down, right? So nobody knows what you actually used. And that is essentially what happens. So we'll move on to our next turn here. So we're testing on ourselves now. So what should we use? How about the feather and the chicken foot? It sounds like it'll be fun. All right, so we put these here. All right, just like that. So now we have, I guess it's a raven feather and a chicken foot. So what we're going to do is scan these. We're going to do the same thing, but instead this time we're just selecting the other option for drink yourself. There we go. Scan them in. You can also set the app to input the things manually as well. There's also a web app that lets you put them in manually too. Oh, look at that, green positive. Excellent. So we do the same thing. Now we grab a green positive token and we find where the chicken foot and the feather meet. So there's the feather, there's the chicken foot, and look, they meet right there. So now we do the same thing. Because they made a green positive, we know that they don't have what? They don't have green negative because they made green positive. So that means that we have, that's a green negative, so nope. Can't be that, can't be that, can't be that, can't be that. And then we do the same thing for the feather. So that's not bad for our first turn. We got a decent amount of information there. So now if we ever need to make those potions, then we'll be able to. We actually have the knowledge and the skill to recreate those potions at any time because we know that that will be constant. That will always be the same. But now what happens is the next turn. What happens on the second turn are several very key elements. So first, you get however many cubes you are entitled to. Our adventurer comes wandering in. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. And then we flip over the next one. You always know what adventurer is coming up on the next round. And the other thing is we replenish these stocks. Right here. So there's a feather and there's a toad. Okay? So let's see, what can we do? Now, here's the thing. We just unlocked the adventurer, and now we can also publish and debunk theories. The other three actions technically that we weren't able to do before. So the way the adventurer one works is that's how you sell potions. That's a good way to make money. So you can see here at the top, you earn 4 gold and then 3, 2, and 1. To earn 4 gold, you have to have the exact right match of what they want. The adventurer themselves, it says at the bottom of the card what they want. I don't know how well you can see this because I know I'm zoomed in here. Sorry about that. Woo, there we go. So you can see at the bottom there, this guy wants a positive green, positive blue, or a negative red. Okay? So just put it back down right there. If you know how to make those, then you can potentially get 4 gold because then you would get the exact right thing. If you get just the sign correct but the wrong color, then you get 3 gold. If you get if you get the wrong sign but the correct color, or a neutral potion, sorry, then you get 2. And if the color itself, or if everything is wrong, then you only get 1. Very, very unpleasant, very bad. But you can see one thing that's very important is it's rather expensive. You need 2 cubes just to do the adventurer one. But still, it's very worthwhile because you get a lot of money. And you can also potentially get a lot of reputation as well if you start getting some of those artifacts, right? So that's one of the things. And the other thing that I'll talk about first is actually publishing a theory, because before you can debunk something, you have to publish it. All right? The way that publishing a theory works is relatively simple. It relates to the knowledge that you already have. So for example, we have already mixed 2 potions and they both made positives. All right? So one thing that we do know for sure is that neither one of those have the negative blue or greens respectively. So here's what we do. We have these different seals that represent how confident we are in whatever theory we want to publish. So we'll take a look at some of these really quickly, right? So there's our nice little pile. So here we've got the silver star, and if we are correct, then we earn 3 victory points for it. The gold star is you earn 5 victory points if it's flipped up. This one just represents that you think you're right, but you're uncertain. This says, I think that the green is incorrect. I think that the green part is wrong. That's another 3. And here, the blue part is wrong. It's the same thing. It's got the blue with a question mark. And then there's the same thing for what's called red, right there. Right? So those are the basic types of ways that you can publish your theory. And where you publish it is, again, up here. On this theory table right up there. Okay, so there's a couple of important things on here as well. You've got the grants, which give you reputation if you earn them. So essentially the idea is if you learn about the lotus flower, the funky root, and the weird looking grass thing, then you get 2 gold and you also get 2 reputation, essentially. Really cool stuff. And you have to essentially endorse or publish 2 of those 3 theories. And then you'll get that particular grant. So pretty cool stuff. Now, for our purposes, what do we know already? We've only tested a total of 4 ingredients, and the problem is we've only tested each one time. So again, we tested the toad and the scorpion and got a positive blue, and we tested the chicken foot and the feather and got a positive green. So the problem is we know for sure what the signs for those values are, but we don't have a clue what the other colors are. So we really shouldn't publish a theory because there's a total of 3 that we need to know about. If you remember, this is the example of the little symbol that represents this is my theory, this is what I believe this particular ingredient is. Right? So for example, we could guess this particular one for the toad because we did get a positive blue potion and this does have a positive blue on it. Right? It might be correct. It's probably not because it's essentially one of 4 possibles. So 1 out of 4, 25% chance, not so great. Probably not something you want to take a risk on. The way that you debunk a theory is in the little corner over there. But either way, whenever you publish a theory, you actually get a reputation just for publishing it. So there, I zoom in on those 2 right there. So you pay a gold and then you publish a theory and get reputation for it. And then if you're going to endorse a theory, in other words, if you agree with somebody, then you pay gold not only to the bank, but you also pay additional gold because, you know, you're a latecomer or somebody else already figured it out, right? And then debunking a theory, in other words, proving that it's wrong, proving that something is wrong, you get 2 reputation, and the person, if they didn't have the correct seal, says they lose 5. They lose 5 reputation. It's terrible. If that theory is correct with whatever thing it is, then you lose a reputation. So debunking is one of the things that changes between the master and the apprentice variant. In the apprentice variant, all that you're doing is showing that a single thing is wrong. So for example, if somebody publishes a toad, if somebody does the toad publication and says, I believe that this is what the toad is, and you see it's like, well, we made a positive blue potion with the toad, and that has a negative blue on it. Well, that can't be right. So that theory is already there. And then I'll just use mine right here just for the sake of argument. So there, and that's their publication. So then you go and you say, okay, well, I'm gonna try to debunk your theory. So then you say, well, debunk it. And then you say, the scorpion is incorrect on the blue, right? And technically what all this is going to do is tell you what the blue sign is. Oh, whoops, not the scorpion, I apologize. We are doing the toad, but either way, right? Toad blue. And then see, oh, look, the toad blue is positive. That's a negative. Oh, the publication is wrong. But then we look at the seal. The person published with the I'm not sure about the blue seal. Because they weren't sure about the blue, they don't actually lose anything, right? They don't lose any reputation because it's like, well, it just means that the blue for sure was wrong and they weren't claiming that it was correct. They were just trying to get a publication out there. Very, very cool, right? I know it's a lot to take in. I know it's a really big game, but it's a ton of fun. I do hope that my explanation was actually somewhat cohesive. One thing I didn't really do too well was talk about the adventures in addition as well. I sort of skipped over that a little bit too quickly, so we'll go back to it very briefly. All right, so the adventure spot right here. Okay. I am going to collect some samples. I'm going to get some shiny stuff, and then I'm going to make a potion for my adventure, and then I will, what else am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and test something on a student twice. And then, what else can I do? Not much. Well, I'll have the gold, so I'll be able to buy something. Okay, so now the way that the adventure works, the idea is that you've got 3 potions available to make, and we actually know how to make 2 of the 3 that this particular person wants. So the first thing that we'll have to do is collect the cards that we need. So we've already got a little weird root thing. So, oh, whoops. Oh, I'm sorry about that. So that doesn't really help us too much. Now, here's the problem. Here, we'll do it like this, because we actually need 2 ingredients. So we will take our scorpion and our toad. Because we know that scorpion and toad, at least in the demo here, make a blue positive potion. So the way the adventure space works is you move your cube to what you're going to make, just like that. Okay? The problem is you don't go in that order. The way that you determine the order for the people going onto the adventure spaces is with the bidding cards. If you've got more than one person on the adventure space, then everybody has to play one of these cards that says either you're not going to give them a discount, you're going to give them a discount of 1, 2, or 3 gold. And then whoever has the most smiley faces will win and get to pick whichever thing they want to do first. So for our purposes, we'll say, well, we know we're going to get it right. So, I mean, we'll say that we'll give them a discount of a -1. If somebody else plays a -2, they'll go first. Hopefully they won't pick the one that we want. But either way, let's say that we got what we wanted. So we play a blue right there. We get our cards. My other cards. Oh, those are the ones I discarded. I fail. There's those. So now it's time to play our scorpion and our toad over here. We put those in our cauldron. My scorpion, nobody saw that. Overall, the pieces are really good. I like them. Sometimes stuff like that happens, though. Just like with any game. Alright, so we've got scorpion and toad right there. And now, we say that we are going to sell potion. There's the option right here, sell potion. And then we say, well, we know that that's going to be a blue positive. Oops. So there, see, it says blue positive. We scan those, and then, yay! We got it correct. We knew that we were going to make the exact right potion. We got the correct sign and the correct color. So that means that we would get our 4, right? I forgot to mention that with your second cube, that's where you put your guarantee. So I put it right there at the top. Okay? Woof. So that's the essence of the game. Right there. I know it was rather long-winded, but it is very exciting. I do love this game. It's a lot of fun. So after this round ends, then we get rid of that adventure. The next one comes out, and then we have conferences, which essentially says if you have a lot of publications, then you get reputation. If you don't have anything published, though, you don't get reputation. Okay? And then at the very end, we do the exhibition. At the exhibition, you say, well, I am going to make this type of potion, and then if you make it, then you get the reputation that says up here. If you manage to make both the plus and the minus, then you get the reputation at the bottom. This is another board that has 2 sides, and this is actually for the number of players. So this side is for 2 or 3 players, and that top row right there just says that's for 3 players. The other side is for 4 players. That's all that means. Okay? And that's why there's 2 sides. The last thing that I wanted to talk about for this particular game is the way that you can technically play with 5 people. It's not easy, and the 5th person isn't actually doing the game itself. What they're doing instead is being the game master, and that's what this little thing is for here. So you can see all the little holes in there. So the way that this works is this randomly assigns the alchemy symbols to each ingredient, and that's what these little things in here are. So the game master will put one into each of these slots, and then just instead of putting the ingredients in the cauldron, all that you're going to do is you're going to hand them to the game master, and they're going to do the same thing where they're just going to see where the ingredients meet, and then they're going to tell you whatever you made, and essentially telling the entire table. So overall, it's a wonderful game. It takes about 2 hours. The master variant, definitely only recommended for people who have played it before. It's fairly difficult, but it is a ton of fun. I absolutely love it. Oh, excuse me. I absolutely love it. It's a really wonderfully made game, very good quality, all of that stuff, anything that you could possibly want from a game. Overall, very good. But with that, I'll go ahead and just talk a little bit about just the overall like pros and cons, what I like, what I don't like, and just a little bit about the game in general as a sort of conclusion. So I hope that you like the gameplay portion. And again, please let me know if you have any feedback about this particular aspect or the introductory aspect as well, because this is my first review, so I do want to hear what you guys have to say. But either way, we'll just move right on into my conclusions and my summary. So that's it for me and my very first review here on YouTube. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoy Alchemists. I know that I absolutely love it. So what I wanted to do now for the end of the video is just sort of a very brief summary where what I really like about this game, I like the integration of technology, which is becoming more and more common, but it's not quite ubiquitous just yet, but I believe that Alchemist does it very well. I like the overall mechanics. I like how you're able to get the ingredients. I like how you have to sort of have the trade-off with trying to figure out what's what, where it comes from, and all that kind of stuff. I like that you have multiple ways of getting money, some of which are obviously better than others. A couple things that I don't really like. I don't necessarily like the length. I know it is a big game, it is a heavy game, but my problem is I really like it. I really enjoy playing it. And again, just like Dungeon Lords, as I said at the very beginning, which is the game it's most similar to for me, in my opinion, they're both heavy games, so they both do take a long time. But for me, my problem is that if I don't have a lot of people and if I don't have a lot of time, then it makes it very difficult to do. But I love the components. The Czech Games Edition components are always very high quality. I just like the game in general. I like the balance of the game. I love the replayability with the randomizer on the app. Overall, just a wonderful game. I thought it was a wonderful choice for my very first review here, but please, again, as I said in the beginning of the video, I want to know what you think. Please tell me, did you like this video? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Do you want more initial analysis? Do you want me to talk about more games that are similar? Like anything and everything. Like, do you want me to go through full rounds? All of that kind of stuff. Anything that you think is good feedback, any feedback that you want to give me, please go ahead and do so. Anything is very helpful. All I want to do is make these the best possible reviews that I possibly can. And in addition, as a final note, if you really like them, if you want to see more of these, then please tell me, what games do you want me to review? I'm working on several others right now, but I'm going to need some suggestions, and if you have a particular game you want to see, then please put it in the comments below, along with any feedback about the video in general. So with that, thank you so very much for watching. I hope again that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. I hope that you enjoyed my very first board game review and gameplay demonstration for Alchemists. As I said throughout the video, please put any and all feedback in the comments below, including what you liked, what you didn't like, etc., as well as any games that you would like to see me review in the future. In addition, I have several playlists linked up at the top of the page that show a lot of what my channel is all about. If you like what you see, please feel free to click that big giant subscribe button so that you can see more in the future. With that, thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.